Heyo, I'm Creato, and today I'll be showing you how to craft and use a mace in the 1.21 Tricky Trials update, plus everything else about the mace from different enchantments to tricks and tips on using the mace. Also, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel as your support really means a lot. So the mace is a brand new weapon in the 1.21 update which can only be found in the new trial chamber structure, which are an underground structure you will need to find first before you can get a mace. To find a trial chambers you need to go to any type of village and then find a cartographer villager and trade with the cartographer until you are able to get a trial chambers map. This map will lead you directly to the nearest trial chambers, which you can get to by walking toward the icon on the map showing where the trial chambers are. Trade with the villager until it is a journeyman to unlock the trial chambers map. If the map you get is for a different structure, then try again with a different villager. But once you get a trial chambers map, look for the icon and move toward it until you are right on it. And since the trial chambers are an underground structure, that means you will need to dig down until you find copper blocks and tough bricks, which are what the trial chambers are made of. And then once you're ready for battle, head inside the trial chambers and look for a trial spawner which looks similar to a normal mob spawner. The trial spawners can spawn a bunch of different mobs, but you should pick one that has something easy like zombies or skeletons for your first fight. Then once you walk up to a trial spawner, the mobs will spawn, and you will need to defeat all the mobs spawned by the trial spawner. And after you have defeated all the mobs, the trial spawner will drop a reward which can be a few different items. But the main item you want to get first is a trial key which you will need for something later. The trial key is a common drop, so if you don't happen to get it first try, then look for another trial spawner and try again until you're able to get a trial key. And you also might want to get a lot of trial keys because you will be needing a lot of them to unlock vaults. And vaults look similar to a trial spawner, except that a vault has a skull with orange eyes on the top side and an orange line at the bottom. The vault can give a bunch of different rewards each time you use a trial key on it, including items like emeralds, enchanted tools, armor trims, and golden apples, which are a few items that might be useful to you. Just keep in mind that a vault can only be used one time per player, which means you will need to find more vaults to continue using the trial keys. And the main item that you want to get from a vault is an ominous bottle, which only has around an 18% chance of being dropped from a vault. This means that you might need to go back to a trial spawner and defeat more mobs to get more trial keys, so that you can continue to unlock more vaults until you get an ominous bottle. And the ominous bottle gives the bad omen effect when consumed, which will start an ominous event. And what this means is that the bad omen effect will turn into the trial omen effect if you are in a trial chamber structure. This will then make the trial spawners turn ominous, resulting in them spawning more mobs with stronger armor, and also give better rewards when all the mobs are defeated. And once you have got an ominous bottle, you will now need to find another trial spawner so that you can start an ominous event in the trial chambers. This will turn all the trial spawners into ominous trial spawners, which will allow you to get the ominous trial key. An ominous trial spawner works the same as a normal trial spawner but has blue flames instead, and also spawns more mobs and gives better items as rewards. But the main item you want from an ominous trial spawner is an ominous trial key, which has a 30% chance of dropping from an ominous trial spawner. This means that if you don't get an ominous trial key the first time, then you will have to go to another trial spawner while you still have the trial omen effect, so that it can turn more trial spawners into ominous trial spawners, which you might want to do anyway since you will be needing quite a few ominous trial keys so that you can be able to unlock many ominous vaults. An ominous vault is much less common than a normal vault, but an ominous vault also gives far better rewards than a normal vault. You can find an ominous vault by looking for the red candles, which always generate next to an ominous vault, plus the fact that an ominous vault also has blue flames instead of orange flames like a normal vault does. And an ominous vault also gives lots of different rewards, but the main item you want is a heavy core, which is the main item needed to craft a mace. Plus, it will also require an ominous trial key to unlock the ominous vault, and there is only around an 8% chance of getting a heavy core from an ominous vault, which means you are likely to need many ominous trial keys to unlock enough ominous vaults to get a heavy core. But you will still get lots of other really good items from an ominous vault, which might be helpful as you continue exploring around the trial chambers. And since you will probably need lots of ominous trial keys to unlock enough ominous vaults, that means you might have to go back to a trial spawner with the trial omen effect to turn it into an ominous trial spawner, and defeat the mobs to collect more ominous trial keys to continue unlocking more ominous vaults until you are able to get a heavy core. And once you are able to finally get a heavy core from an ominous vault, that will mean you finally have the main item needed to craft a mace. And the good news is that the other item needed to craft a mace is nowhere near as difficult to get as a heavy core. And now you will need to find a breeze spawner which is surrounded by chiseled tough blocks, since the last item needed to craft a mace is a breeze rod, which is dropped by a breeze. And a breeze rod is very easy to get since a breeze will always drop at least one breeze rod every time. And defeating a breeze isn't too difficult, but rather a bit tricky since the breeze uses wind charges to attack, which cause you to get thrown around a lot. And a breeze also doesn't have too much health with only 15 hearts, which is the same amount of health as a guardian in an ocean monument. And since you are guaranteed to get a breeze rod every time you defeat a breeze, That means it won't be hard at all to get a breeze rod compared to the long process of getting a heavy core. And while you're here next to a breeze spawner, you might as well collect a few more breeze rods since they are so easy to get a lot of, and they will also be useful combined with a mace later. Plus, you can also use a sword with looting to get more breeze rods quicker. And once you finally have both a heavy core and breeze rod, you can go to a crafting table and craft your hard-earned mace by simply placing the heavy core above the breeze rod in the crafting grid. Without any enchantments, a mace deals the same amount of damage as a diamond sword. But the main purpose of a mace is to be used while falling, since it deals far more damage that way while also preventing all fall damage for yourself. And the mace also has a wind charge effect, but will still only damage one mob at a time. This makes the mace a high-risk, high-reward type of weapon, since it does more damage the longer you fall but only prevents fall damage if you actually get the hit on a mob, which means from a tall enough distance you can one-hit a mob without it even noticing what happened, which can be really useful on mobs or players with a lot of health and are far enough below you, or as long as you make sure to always have the high ground. Plus, there are also 3 enchantments you can add to a mace, which are Density, Breach, and Wind Burst. The Density enchantment maxes at level 5, Breach at level 4, and Wind Burst at level 3. And both Density and Breach can be obtained by enchanting a mace, while Wind Burst can only be obtained by finding an enchanted book in a trial chambers or any other structure with chests. The Density and Breach enchantment cannot be combined with each other, but both can work with the Wind Burst enchantment. This means you will have to pick between if you want Density or Breach on your mace, but you will still always be able to have Wind Burst. Plus, there are also a few other existing enchantments that can also be added on a mace, and while you can't put the Sharpness enchantment on a mace, the other enchantments that you can add are Smite or Bane of Arthropods, and of course Unbreaking and Mending as well. Plus, all of these enchantments work with the new Mace enchantments to really beef up your mace. And as for what the new Mace enchantments actually do, the first one, which is Density, allows your mace to do more damage from a shorter fall. This means that with the Density enchantment, a mace will deal way more damage as if you were falling from a taller height, when in reality you won't need to fall from that great of a height. This is really useful, so you don't have to risk a longer fall, while still dealing a large amount of damage, as if you actually did fall from a greater height. The second mace enchantment is Breach, which allows a mace to bypass the armor of a mob or player. This will allow the mace to damage a mob or player as if they had no armor on, even if they are wearing a full set of netherite armor. This enchantment is really useful against armored enemies, which of course includes both mobs and players. And the final enchantment for the mace is Wind Burst, which gives you a wind charge attack for yourself and mobs every hit. This means that every hit will produce a wind charge, which can propel you back up while also sending mobs flying all around you. This is great against swarms of mobs to keep yourself in the air while also being able to push back mobs and players away from you, even if you are on the same ground level. And since all of the 3 mace enchantments are strong on their own, that means combining them will allow you to create a mace which can do tons of damage, allowing you to always Wind Burst right back up and continue dealing lots of damage every hit with a mace.